My entire life, I've dreamed of Fillory. Everything I've ever wanted, I've got. Magic is real. It can fix anything except what I need.
You're powerful, or you're weak. If you're powerful, you will survive.
We're alive, deal.
What a lovely surprise. A bunch of my students went and conquered another world. The very least I can do is help you rule it.
There's 4 kings and queens?
Yeah, you get to pick the other 3. Do I get to be a king? 12-year-old me is crying right now.
12-year-old you was crying back then.
Apparently, we have enemies to the north and south. A huge magic issue thanks to the beast. And do you know they don't know what champagne is?
Destiny? It's bullshit.
You need to kill a god. You really think you have a fighting chance?
I think I'm gonna give it my best.
I think you should probably hug me.
If we survive this, I hope we can still be friends.
Get over yourself, Ned Stark.
People are gonna die no matter what. Just try to make sure that it isn't you.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, I'm one of the privileged few that has seen the first couple episodes of this next season. I want to get into that, obviously, but I want to start off just at the beginning. Jason, tell me a little bit how you thought this was going to come across, and what you thought of the script when you first saw it for Quentin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, we first, I think, came across the script in the same way, like, a traditional audition kind of thing. And then as it got more serious, I think we all started reading the books. It became, like, very quick and rabid fans. And I know that I, like, very quickly felt a responsibility towards them in, like, wanting to make sure that we were going to be telling the story with people who wanted to tell the same story that struck me, and luckily enough, like everyone was, and we have a really great team here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Olivia, same question. I mean, what did you think of did you read the books before you started looking at the script, and when did you get across that?
Similar to what Jason said, I was sent the script, the pilot, came across my desk, and I'm a big fan of fantasy and magic, so I jumped on it right away and I read it and fell in love with the pilot script, so I went and got the book and started reading that and fell in love with it, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this, I'm gonna be so heartbroken. But luckily it all worked out, and then quickly read through the 3 books, and once I met everybody involved in the cast and the crew, I knew right away that everybody felt the same amount of responsibility to the material.
Yeah. And Stella?
Yeah, I think we all kind of binge read the books as soon as we we found out about it and knew that it
They're
was
highly addictive, aren't they?
They're great. Yeah, you can't put them down. But I think that I remember we were all in the hotel during the pilot. We were in New Orleans, and I think everybody was like, "What are you reading?" I was like, "I'm on the second one. We're doing this." We're like to reread it constantly, and I know Jason keeps a copy of it with him at all times on set. Still, all 3 of them. He's on it.
You have a copy with you right now? Do you have it? Just
that's Jason's acting technique right there.
And Arjun, same.
It's important. It's important. The source material is important. We have great source material, so it's awesome.
Absolutely, and Arjun.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous. I mean, especially for me as Penny, I was nervous because it felt like it could be seen as a big departure. And I think, like Jason said, there was a responsibility I felt to tell these stories in a truthful way, in a way that honored what Lev wrote. And it's been incredible. All of you guys who are fans of the show has been just so supportive and so incredible, and really patient and accepting of changes that might need to be made. And it's been a blessing. It's been a huge, huge blessing.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there in the room during the panel at Comic-Con, and the reception from the fans was amazing then, and it's been growing ever since. I mean, what's been like interacting with the fans, since the shows started to come out and since the second season is about to come out?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first Comic-Con we did, we were there before we were finished shooting season 1. No one had seen anything, so it was only fans of the books, and so we got a lot. It was people were testing us, to make sure that we were good enough and that we were gonna uphold this material. And
But even then, didn't you feel like that they were still really supportive and really
I think right away they were like, "Oh wow, these people get it and they
Yeah.
love this as much as we do."
Yeah.
And since then, there has been a lot of trust, and as Arjun said, patience and love along the way.
What? Oh, sorry, no, please.
No.
Please,
Wanna go?
please, no, please.
Okay. I was just gonna say it's amazing how forgiving they are, especially with Julie. I mean, all of these characters make a lot of interesting choices, and it's nice that the fans are so forgiving and so understanding and stick with us.
If I might just add just one real quick thing. At this last Comic-Con, we had this show means a lot to a lot of people, and we had the honor of people generously sharing some of their stories and what this means to them. And that is a huge gift as artists when we're in the middle of, sometimes we get caught up if it's 16-hour day, you're like, man, I just want to go home. What are we doing? It's raining in Vancouver. But hearing that kind of stuff, it's so inspiring, and it's such it's a gift. And thank you to all of you guys who have shared those stories. Thank you.
Yeah. And is there any way to tell how beautiful this show is going to be while you're on set? 'Cause, I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, tell me a little bit about the process of interacting with the CGI and everything, those great elements.
I mean, we're really lucky on this show. There isn't a whole lot of CGI, and the locations that we get to shoot at are just as luscious in person as they are on camera. We shoot up in beautiful Vancouver, and it's a rainforest, so there's a million different locations that look completely different from 5 miles down the road. So we get to go into Fillory a lot this season, and the locations are everywhere in Vancouver. I mean, we take a 10-minute long gondola ride to the top of a mountain to go across the suspension bridge, and Jason's trying not to vomit because from motion sickness, and Arjun's screaming and yelling out of excitement. But then we get to the top, and there's this amazing view of the entire valley below, and then we have to act, and it's oh, this is easy.
And when there is CGI, there's spoiler alert, there's going to be a really cool CGI scene that's going to come up between Julia and Quentin, and Olivia came in and actually did voiceover for us. She stood in as whatever this mythical creature is.
That's not a
and
spoiler.
pretended
You
it was
haven't
awesome.
said anything. That's not a spoiler.
Okay,
You
no,
literally
this
just said
good. I was
nothing.
very safe. I just safeguarded everything.
I can tell you've been to a Comic-Con before because you're very
I'm
pro about that.
You
Yeah,
asked about whether we can know that it's going to be beautiful, and yes, because we have the most incredible design team that is a part of it. Rachel O'Toole, who is our production designer, the sets that she has built for this season. When you get to guys see Castle Whitespire and inside the throne room, you are going to drop your jaws, or your jaw's going to drop, whatever that language is.
Drop your
no, not drawers, jaws. Yeah, your
Maybe
jaw's
the
going to
drawers.
drop.
You were my
Maybe
mind.
both. I don't know. It is the
If you're into
magician.
that,
Who knows? Also, I want to shout out to Ellie Smokin, our DP, who has created new looks and has taken things to another level this year. Our special effects team is incredible. Everyone, I like to give as much credit to the crew. We all do, because we can't do this without them. They're amazing.
They love the show and the books as much as we do.
Yeah, it's
we get into the cast van some mornings, and they're sitting there reading the scripts. And I've never worked on a show where the drivers want to read the scripts before we even get it. It's a wonderful support team.
Yeah, was there any instances in season 1 where the special effects or the scene came out looking way better than you ever could have imagined when you were reading the script for the first time?
I mean, most of them. Yeah, that's all I had to say. It was just most of them.
Yeah, when I read the books, I was I don't know how they're gonna pull all of this off. And somehow every week we show up to work, and I'm like, there it is. There's what's in the books.
It's just a real gift that we don't really have to play pretend in that way. very much. Like they build these worlds, and we just get to walk into them. And then with Vancouver being the way it is, like we shot this like coronation scene on top of like a cliff in front of these like this like glacier lake like filled with emerald green water with these islands that are like popping out of it. And if like in front of this island like a turtle head popped out and the island just started to move, like I wouldn't be surprised. You know, like everything already is magical.
Well, the show has since come out, obviously, and people love it. But I mean, when you were first explaining to people, I'm on the show called The Magicians, did they think you were going to be magicians? Is that what they were thinking?
Yeah.
Like, oh, what tricks are you doing? Like, oh, like, what, you gonna pull quarters out of someone's ears?
David
Like,
Blaine?
no, magic with a K, not magic with a C.
In season 2, I mean, what did you guys anticipate going in? Did they give you a little bit about what season 2 was going to be, or when did you first read the first couple scripts? You guys are laughing, so explain that.
When we got to Vancouver, we started shooting June 15th, so we got the first few scripts like a few days, like a week before that, something like that. They were great. I think we got like 4 scripts. I mean, John and Sarah are great. They might not be able to give us full scripts ahead of time, but they do try to help us know that we, like, where's your arc? You know, for me personally, I like to craft, like, where's Penny going throughout the season so I can just make sure that I'm planting the seeds in episode 1 and 2 that might come to bloom in, like, episode 8. So we may not see exact scripts, but they let us know as much as they can.
And you guys, how soon do you guys get the scripts before you guys had to start shooting? And do you guys get them a little bit in advance?
Usually about a week before, sometimes
It doesn't
more,
seem like
sometimes
a
less.
lot when you're shooting a whole episode.
No, it's not. I mean, it's the amount of work is daunting. You know, like you're in the middle. It's especially sometimes we're shooting like 2 episodes at the same time, and then you get the 3rd episode, and it's tough to wrap your brain around. Wait, okay, did we already shoot the scene where we broke up, and like, do we hate each other now, or like, what was that like, or you know, like.
I mean, I think
tracking the relationships is
but that's
difficult.
a good. I mean, that's the reason why me and you we're always going back to the books on set because it's the only like anchor that we have while we're reading the scripts. We're like, okay, well, we read this one this week and the opposite that week, and it's nice to look back at what Lev wrote and to tune into the tone and the relationships that he put in the books.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the relationships, you know, Arjun and Jason. I mean, you guys play friends. Do you find that
We play what?
Yeah.
That's not a word I would use.
I mean, would you guys, do those relationships start to play themselves out when you're hanging off scene? How do those things start to like?
That's a dangerous question you're asking, brother.
I like dangerous questions.
No, not really. I mean, I think that, you know, when I have to play somebody that I hate, if I actually hate them or if that starts to happen, it messes with me in the performance. Like, I love Jason. Like, he is a brother to me. So, like, that's what makes it really fun. I mean, I can only speak for me. I can't speak.
Yeah, well, it's like I have a respect for Arjun that I will never have, that Quentin will never have for Penny. Right. You know?
Right. I mean, I don't feel any way about you. I don't feel the way, Jason, I don't feel about you the way that Penny feels about
get
me.
it all out
I feel
right
like
here.
I should say that to you. That's what this requires.
Oh,
This got weird, man.
This is
This got
cute.
weird.
This is a bromance. This is a bromance.
And when you have fans that are obviously eagerly anticipating the next season, how do you guys keep all the stuff secret? I mean, when you're shooting in Vancouver, I'm sure there's a lot of secrecy, you know, where you're shooting, what you're shooting, and
I slip
I'm
up
sure you have
all
people,
the time.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I'm not very
like
good at that.
constantly dropping it, and it's bad.
I just feel like, you know, there are books, you know, that kind of spoil it all for you. So
If you really wanted
like,
to.
how much damage can I do?
No, it's actually a bit. It's actually.
It's true. You egg it on. You're like, just say it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then you're like, eh.
It's fun though. You get to make up spoilers too, which has been a fun thing.
You
to do.
had some Twitter going for a while
doing
there.
that.
You've been
Right.
making
What?
things up.
Yeah, I make up spoilers that I just like tweet out.
Really?
Yeah. Way to pay attention to my
Smart.
Twitter, Stella.
Sorry, oop, I'm on it. I'm bad at social.
Let's get a little bit about what people can anticipate this next season. I mean, you guys are chasing down the beast. You're trying to kill him for the last time. I mean, tell us a little bit about what people can expect. I'll start with Jason and for your character that you can talk about. I just want to, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I feel like season 1 for Quentin, a lot of his frustrations about being in like the real world, I think, stem from his desire for it to be more simple, and that's why he's like drawn to these fantasy ideas in this particular story, because it is so concise and simple, where there is good and bad, and there is black and white, and there is a hero and there is a villain, and real life is so much more gray than that, and that can be overwhelming and frustrating. And so we finally, at the end of season 1, we finally get him to this place that he's always wanted to be, and he finds out that it's perhaps more gray than the world that he just came from. And so it's a lot of the season for me it's about like mourning a lot of things, people and that idea, and the ideas of like who you think you should be, and just kind of refining that.
Yeah, how about you, Olivia?
That was a long answer, Jason.
I'm not capable of like soundbitey.
No, he's not. It's a bit hard to talk about Alice this season because it's a big spoiler.
Make fun of a long answer and about to launch into a long answer.
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying I don't have a lot to say. Alice this season, we get to see very different sides of Alice. She has a very different relationship to magic than Quentin does. She was born into it. She has no choice to be a part of it, and she would rather not be a part of it. But then she got involved in this group and now has a connection with them and feels like she needs to take care of them. And like they all do, they need to take care of each other at this point. And at the end of season 1, they're on a downward spiral, and we kind of pick up where we left off. And Alice, well, she still has amazing powers that she got from Ember. So this season we get to see a little bit of what she's actually capable of with insane amount of powers. That's all I'm going to say.
Definitely, yeah. And Stella, I mean, the finale was it was terrifying, you know, so tell us a little bit about where you go from there.
Light and fluffy. Julia forms an unlikely bond with the Beast, and we kind of get to see Julia and the Beast go on a journey.
People are reacting.
I mean, he's amazing. I'm looking directly at him because he makes me feel comfortable. To say, so good. Thank you. That's awesome.
He's excited.
It's cool. We get to see Julia and this, you know, this like villainous character who form an unlikely bond, and maybe he's not so villainous after all. You know, you kind of get to see a different side of him. I feel like today it's like, you know, bad guys, good guys. You know, good versus evil, like villains and the hero. And here it's a gray area in the Magicians. It's not everything is black and white, as Jason had said.
That's awesome. Yeah, Arjun.
I start off with no hands. That's not very good, and things happen. No, it is fascinating. You know, Penny is not somebody that's comfortable asking for help and or being reliant on anybody. But without your hands, there's very little that you can do by yourself. And so, much of the season is Penny being in spaces of vulnerability that he's just really uncomfortable with, and it's really selfishly was really fun for me to play. Because it was a lot of different sides of Penny, and hopefully it'll be fun for y'all to watch. And yeah, he's just vulnerably dealing with a choice of whether or not to get magic back, and what are the costs of getting back magic, and whether that's worth it. And that's kind of the engine that drives him through the whole season.
And always looking hot.
And
sharp,
thank you.
always,
without
yes.
a shirt, possibly.
Yeah, these are things that happen.
Now, obviously, a pilot experience is going to be a lot different than the first episode of a second season. I mean, you guys have sort of grown into the roles. The writers know who you are as people. Do you guys get to sort of add little bits to your character? I mean, when do you feel like that relationship opens up to that level? If you guys have any sort of examples of parts of your character that you feel like have evolved.
You know, I think John and Sarah have always been really collaborative from a standpoint of like they write great scripts that don't really need a lot of shifting, you know, and so it's but they're always open to like on the day slate, especially when they're there in Vancouver. It's really fun because we get to, hey, does this work better or can this work? And so they're really collaborative that standpoint. There's a lot of, in the gag reel, you'll catch up a lot of the ad-lib stuff that we do. Sadly, this is just like such a full show that sometimes some of the stuff that we like discover on the day just doesn't, there's not enough time for all of it. Hopefully there'd be, I wish there was like extended editions of the episodes. That would be really fun.
Be like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
They have started writing a little bit towards their personality, I think, because sometimes when I get the scripts, I feel like I'm like reading Arjun's actual words, and they start kind of talking like us. But maybe that
Lines are blurred.
maybe
people.
the lines are so
blurred.
blurry, we're becoming the characters, but without magic.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of magic, this show definitely fills the gap for people who are fans of Harry Potter or Narnia, all those things that have stopped now. And I mean, do you find a lot of correlation between those fans, people that were fans of those shows, maybe coming to you guys and finding the similarities?
I feel like it's like Harry Potter on acid. You know what I mean? It's kind
I
of
love
like, yeah, and maybe like some Brad
Add that to
Easton
the
Ellis.
marketing. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, like I certainly like grew up with Harry Potter, and like that's a part of my DNA. And
No shame. I would say, absolutely.
no,
yeah.
I have no shame about anything. And The Magicians feels like a natural evolution to that same kind of interest. It's those kinds of characters in those kinds of situations, but grown up and experiencing like the real world, because like I'm now kind of thrown into the real world in a way that I wasn't when I was that age. So it's like, it's not that it's like more real. It's just that's the current phase of my life that I'm in. So the story makes sense to me.
I
now. It
expected
speaks to me.
it to be a very specific audience that was mainly that group of people, but I've been really pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of people that like are new to the genre that have been kind of exploring the show, because I think it is, while it is fantasy, it's real world through fantasy. It doesn't divorce itself from the real world, and that I think that's kind of appealing, and it's been, I don't know why there's been a kind of like transcendence of the show into like more than just the genre audience, but I'm happy that that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stella, I want to talk a little bit about Take the 10. You have another movie coming out soon. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
do?
So, yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm excited. It's coming out on Netflix. It's January 20th. It's my first comedy, so it might be
Andy
really bad.
Samberg,
Andy Samberg, Josh Peck, and Tony Rivera. Yeah, thank you. Chester Tam directed it. I'm super excited. But yeah, it's my first time doing a comedy, so hopefully it's okay. You know. I hope so. They're great. They're amazing, and it was like a lot of fun shooting with those guys because they're like, you know, they're my boys.
Yeah.
Fun.
You guys have all sort of bridged the gap with different, genres and everything. Do you love the sort of counterpoint between this show and other work that you guys have done?
I think this show is such a beautiful balance between all the genres. I mean, the scripts are funny, and they're based on real-life human problems, but at the center of it all in The Magicians, it's about the humanity, and I think that's why it's such a easy show for all of us to tap into. And as much as I love magic, and I'm such a nerd about magic, that's not what attracted me to the show, and that's not why I keep making the show. It's the relationships between the people on the show and the journey they're going on. So I think that, there's drama, there's comedy, there's horror, there's all these different things we get to do as actors, and it's all in one show, which is really great for us.
Well said. Well, there's some questions in the audience, I guess, right there.
Hello. Thanks for being
Hi.
here. If you had the opportunity to play a different character, who would it be?
Hale.
Elliot. Yeah,
Elliot.
I'd be Margot.
Yeah.
Weird response.
When I was reading the books, I was like, ooh, I could play Elliot.
Yeah.
Wow. Just have an Elliot off right here.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Nice. Next question.
Hey guys.
Howdy.
How you doing?
I love you guys.
We love you.
Thank you.
I just finished watching the first season like 2 days ago, and I was so mad at how it ended. But now that there's another one, I'm not so mad. But anyway, so
good
I just
timing.
wanted to know, since you guys are on The Magicians and you guys play magicians, do you guys see the world differently now?
No, I think that it's forced me to think about what is magic to me, and that question. I didn't really think about that much until we started doing stuff like this before the first season aired, and people asked similar questions to that, and it makes me think. And what I've come to learn is that for me, the magic that I see in the real life is community. And when communities have each other back, and when people take care of each other, and the random acts of kindness and the little things. I mean, in New York, they have that everywhere that you see on the sidewalk, and you walk now, kindness is magic. So that's kind of become, and because of the show and thinking about that, I'm focusing on that more. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I feel like the number one question people always ask is what magical power would you want to have? And I used to have answers, and now magic isn't as romantic as it used to be because I now see the consequences of it. So it's more like I don't want it. I don't want it anymore.
Nice. And one last question right there.
Hi, this question is for Stella. So your character kind of goes through the hardest journey, I would say, in this whole show. And I was wondering how you kind of channel that emotion to get through all of those hard times, especially with your personality being so bright.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. That's a lovely thing to say. Julia has a really rough time. Gosh, I wish I had the perfect answer. I guess the thing is that awful things happen to human beings all the time, and all we can do is the best that we can in that moment and afterwards, and with what we're given, and you know, we must carry on. I have this tattoo on my arm. I should show you guys, but I can't hold the mic and show it at the same time. But it's my mom's handwriting, and it says "Carry On," and it's kind of like the Stills Crosby, Nash and Young song, because like we must keep going, you know. And yeah, she's my hero. She's an awesome survivor. So yeah, but thank you, you know.
Well, guys, I absolutely loved the season premiere. Guys, check it out next week on Syfy Channel. One more hand for the cast of magicians, guys.